Why, hello, and welcome to issue 626 of Geek in the City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Bina Rita.
And I'm your third jucklefuck, Cable Hashtani.
Hey,
I don't know what's happening because I missed it, y'all.
I don't know why I started laughing. I just did.
Oh, I thought I missed something.
Nope, you didn't miss a thing. He just started laughing, and that made me laugh.
And I don't. Yeah,
giggling.
Yeah, I can't
All
tell
right,
you.
So the gang is feeling punchy tonight, is what we're saying.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Punch it.
We are, after all, the award-winning I Was Podcasting Before Podcasting Was Cool podcast.
That's right.
That is quite the honorific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we really should have the award that just says, yes, we're older than Smodcast. Because every time some like hacky news site or entertainment site brings up like the history of podcasting, like inevitably they're like, and Kevin Smith has been the longest, one out there podcasting. I was like, Punk, I got him beat by like 5 years.
And you do it more often.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, he does a lot of different shows.
Not the point. Having multiple podcasts is its own thing. But in terms of like, A, how old is your show? B, how many episodes a year do you do? Because we also win there.
That's true.
That was his choice to have multiple other shows. Smodcast only happens once every 2 weeks tops.
Yeah, we at least we hit between 45 to 48 shows a year.
That's what I go for. That's what
at
we
a
go
minimum,
for,
yeah.
Out of a possible 52.
Yeah. And we're also older than Mark Merritt. Like all of them. We're just, make a fraction of what any of those shows do.
Well,
one of us has to get famous because that's the only way you actually make money podcasting is you have to be famous first.
I thought that was going to be you.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I can only ever be fame adjacent, so it's not me.
Yeah, and the way things are going, I'm more likely to be infamous, not famous.
Infamous?
True that.
Just like El Guapo, the infamous El Guapo.
Mm-hmm. Can I do a show and tell real quick?
Sure.
I want to give a guy a shout out. I just got this from Matt Grigsby in the mail today.
Oh, you bought that one?
Yeah, this was from his Inktober from this year.
Super cute.
And as soon as this one came up, I'm like, dude, if you sell that, I want to buy it.
I felt
like, I'll let you know.
So bad because I wanted his Horned King from the Black Cauldron. And right as he made them for sale, it was when all of my money went away.
Oh no!
So he wrote me and he's like, "Hey, do you still want this? It's this much." And I was like, "That's an amazing price," and I do. But in the last week or so, the purse strings had to go. Yick! He's like, "No, I understand." But if the money improves, I will write him and say, "So, have you sold the Horned King?"
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Because I love that Disney animated film, and no one else really does. Or at least not many.
Yeah, that's like a 12% fan base.
Yeah, but the ones who like it really like it. Like, we really like it.
And some of them worked on What If.
Oh.
That's true.
Because that motherfucker came out of that portal for Dark Strange to siphon his powers off of.
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's the Horned King. God damn it. That was awesome. Yeah, and I know they keep talking about how, because I think Disney still owns the rights to that entire book series. And they've talked about trying to bring, basically doing the series.
That would be fantastic.
I might.
That was one of my favorite series of books when I was in middle school. It was great.
Yeah. And it was one of those rare ones that was that was the age it was targeted for.
Mm-hmm.
Chronicles of Narnia are kind of a little bit older.
And real Christian-y.
Well, yeah. They're still fun. I mean, The Hobbit was for little kids, but then you roll right into Lord of the Rings, which is not for kids. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just the comprehension level is so high.
Mm-hmm.
But the Paradon series? Is that what it's called?
The Chronicles of Pyrdan.
Pyrdan, yeah. And like I think the Black Cauldron's like book 2 or 3. I mean, they crammed way too much into that movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the series was now. I'll have to look it up. So, if only I had the
access to all of humanity's knowledge.
If only.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that, and I would love if Disney did like a reboot of the Black Hole.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I feel like that would be like a Disney Plus series.
You are correct. The Black Cauldron was the second book. The first book was the Book of Three.
That's right, yeah.
And the third book was The Castle of Lear, then Taran Wanderer, and ended with The High King.
Yeah.
So it was 5 books altogether.
And they are very like old school English myth steeped too. Like that's their jam. Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. Disney's first PG was the Black Cauldron came out PG, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's very dark.
First PG animated, right?
Animated, yeah.
Because it wasn't the Black Hole PG.
No, I think it's G.
It's still G? Jesus.
I think so. Yeah. They used to rate weird. Like, like when Star Trek The Motion Picture came out, it was G. But then like in the 80s, it got re-rated to PG because the MPAA changed its standards again. I don't know.
The MPAA should be abolished.
Yeah, it's pointless.
I feel like the time for reformation of most of these ratings groups has long passed, much like the reformation of a lot of different things. We've gone past reforming them and gone right to abolish them.
Yeah, just destroy.
That's what happens when you keep kicking the can down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Man, I never heard that phrase in a long time.
Yeah, that's very 1930s, Bean.
I know, it's very old. Geek in the City Radio with old-timey Bean.
Although we are coming back around to the 30s again, so.
That's true.
Yeah, as far as this being the second coming of the Roaring 20s.
And we're pretty primed for another Great Depression, I think. So.
Yay!
We haven't.
We've been in one. We're just not calling it that.
No.
Much
I mean, no.
Like,
by calling the last 10 years, give or take, the Great Depression, however long since the Great Recession, if you were to call it the second Great Depression, that would imply that it really can't get much worse.
It can always get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
They won't call it a depression until rich people start to lose their money. That's when they're like, oh, we have a problem.
Bottom tier rich people.
I for one look forward to rich people throwing themselves out of windows. Is that too much? I feel like that.
No. Although it's a gig economy, they might hire other people to be thrown out the windows.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good comic story in there
number
somewhere.
one Task Rabbit assignment of 2022.
Yeah. Remember what was it? Scud, the disposable assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Now there could be like, I don't know, Dave, the disposable. I don't know. I got to workshop it some more, but there's something there. There's something there.
Westworld season 3.
I haven't watched
which
it.
I finally watched.
Yeah.
Did I forget to tell you, Cable? I finally watched it.
Yeah, that was intense.
I have still watched this much Westworld.
What are you doing?
The bazillion other things I have to do. I only have so many hours in the day with which to dedicate to shows.
I enjoyed. It's fascinating that the first season of Westworld, where it's taking place in a fake amusement park where nobody, like any humans, can't be injured, but if you are a host or one of the robots, you get destroyed all day long. But it was still felt very bloodless for an area where there was lawlessness. And, it was literally the Wild West. And then season 2, where everything had gone wrong, was unnecessarily gory. Except it was necessary because that was the whole point. Is like, yeah, no, this is real violence. This is real horror, and we want you to be unnerved by the amount of gore that we are showing, because now it's real people.
I guess by comparison, yeah, season 1 seems pretty tame. But only because the idea is that those individuals who look like real humans are technically not. But that's the whole point, right? Like, oh, well, it's not real violence because they're not real humans.
Right.
These violent delights.
Is that what they're called?
No, it's a phrase.
These violent delights have violent ends. It is that phrase is essentially a software virus that's spoken and causes things to start going awry.
Right. I keep thinking about the premise of Westworld, and I don't think I would. I think it'd be hard for me to like kill the robots too, because I fucking apologize to my robot vacuum cleaner if I bump into it. I'm like, oh, sorry, robot, sorry, buddy.
That plays into the storyline.
I liken the concept similar to like The Purge. I think the idea is that, or like not the moral of the story, but like what they want to establish is that most people have violent tendencies that they just don't act on because it's socially unacceptable and there are consequences. But you put them in a box, like in The Purge, there's like the free day or whatever.
Right.
And you put them in an amusement park where anything goes, and like people feel free to unleash their worst instincts.
Yeah, and that is the thesis of the show, is that humans are awful.
Yes. And I'm in that camp, so I know it's very generalized, and there's a lot of, like Ida has schooled me on a number of occasions that like humanity is not the problem, it's rampant capitalism. But
yes.
But it's hard to untie yourself from thinking that people are just terrible to each other, to the planet.
If that basically is I do agree with Ida on this, because that's part of what capitalism teaches us. Is it's like, oh yeah, we put these choices in front of them, they're going to do the horrible things. It's like, why are those the choices?
Right. Yeah.
Why is there not the choice of you just walk away? It's like, oh well, because we don't make money off of that. There you go. These are not real choices. These are not real predicaments that you're putting these hypothetical people in, and therefore that's why you're getting skewed data.
Yeah,
but you're right.
You're creating a self-fulfilling outcome.
Yes,
but you're
yes.
right.
You're taking away some of the choices that probably would be more appealing and better for the greater good.
The greater good.
Thank you. Yeah, you kind of take away the real options, and so what you get what you leave. I'm only really giving you the opportunity to be violent, so you're probably going to be violent.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that you would dig Westworld, Aaron, whenever you get around to it.
I'm sure I will. It's on the list of things that I will one day get around to.
I'm just glad that Denise is now in the same boat that I am, where we are awaiting season 4.
Nice.
So,
Well, speaking of seasons, what are we going to talk about in this episode?
A show that probably isn't going to have another season.
Correct.
I mean, no, never say never. But after weeks of wanting to talk about the new live action Cowboy Bebop, it turns out that the show has already been canceled.
mm-hmm.
Look at us having our finger on the pulse of culture.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are probably enough people who really appreciated the show that someone else will try to pick it up.
I don't know if they can. I think Netflix has full rights to it.
They could sell it. You never know. If they aren't going to use it, it's just letting it die on the vine. At any
Which
rate,
is also capitalistic.
That's what.
If we're not going to make money on it, we don't want someone else to.
No one.
Yeah,
if I
then
can't
no
have
one
you,
can.
no one can.
Right.
That's just abusive.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, the plan today was to have a nice long conversation about the live action show and how we feel it compares to the original anime.
And we can still do that, but then also comment about why we thought it got canceled and was that fair and all that kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. So, we can still roll with that.
Yes, we can.
God forbid, I thought I turned off the stream. I was like, no!
That's it, everybody. Good night.
Bye. So, I mean, yeah, I don't feel like we have to get into too many details about what Cowboy Bebop is about. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Can we start with, so I'll put this caveat at the front. I've only watched one episode of the live action. I am currently 13 episodes into a rewatch of the animated series. Or the original.
Nice.
So all of my opinions and thoughts are going to be based on that. What I wanted to ask is, what are your two's relationship with Cowboy Bebop?
I love the original series, and in fact, since it's been a couple years since the last time I'd watched it, and I was in my garage for 11 hours on Saturday, I ended up watching the whole series. 11 hours is enough time to watch the entirety of Cowboy Bebop animated, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
FYI. So if you've got a long day of something ahead of you. I don't know if there is an original source material, aka a manga. I didn't think so. It's, I don't know that it's one of like my favorites, but I've never sat down to like rank all of my anime. But it has a lot of melancholy to it, and it doesn't exactly have a happy ending. So that's totally my jam.
Yeah. I mean, I actually don't watch as much anime as I think people assume. Like sometimes someone will ask me about something, I'll make a reference, and I'll be like, I don't know what that is. So I've run into a lot of fans that are shocked that I don't actually have like a huge anime background of viewership. I have a small handful of shows that I watched. As a rule, I tend to like to watch anime films because they have a start, a middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll come to some of the series and be like, no, it's too much. I'm not even going to try. Like, I'm not even going to give it a shot. But Cowboy Bebop wasn't one of those because, again, it was a limited series.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and like being said, like it kind of has a downer ending, which is very much my jam. As much as I don't like Whedon, I always like his give them what they deserve, not what they want, in terms of the story. And I do a lot of writing based on that. Give them what the story deserves, not what they think they want. But Cowboy Bebop also hits like all of my fun, like little genre ticks. It's like, okay, it's a noir. Click. It's weird. It's in space with like jump gates and tech, but also like people still have food carts in it. Check. Mm-hmm. Oh, also it's basically a Western. Oh shit. Check. Oh, and it has a great soundtrack to like this funky ass jazz. Like, it's like as soon as I watched that first episode, I was like, someone has opened my brain and has learned what kind of I mean, the only thing it was missing was a vampire to have everything Aaron would ever want in a show, you know. Um, so I dug it. I also dug the movie a lot, which is Hoof. Prepare your body. The movie takes place between episodes 22 and 23.
Knocking on Heaven's Door is the name of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's really good. It's very, very good.
I might find it and watch it soon.
Yeah. That I don't think
While
is
it's all
on Netflix.
fresh.
I bet Movie Madness has it.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. So anyway, like I was super pumped when they so that's my knowledge of Cowboy Bebop. Like it's pretty high up there.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked at Suncoast with our friend Aaron and some other folks, Cowboy Bebop was in heavy rotation on the TV because we never played anything corporations wanted us to play.
Good.
Yeah, ever. Even though we got in trouble, but we didn't fucking care. Aaron was like, "It's my store. I'll do what I want. If you don't like it, fire me." So yeah, we played a lot of Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, I just liked everything about it. I mean, I think part of it is like because the anime came out in '98, I think the original show. And we were already starting to get new Star Wars, but in a weird way, like Cowboy Bebop was scratching that itch for me way better than Star Wars was going to, because it was scoundrels and bounty hunters, and yeah, they still fired regular guns, but they also had like photonic disruptors that could blow holes in ships, and oh yeah, they had ships, but also a beat up like fucking beetle driving around a new Tijuana. Like I was like, man, this is so cool. So it just hit all those things that I love so much about that type of storytelling. So yeah, that was a long way to get to the fact that I was really excited when they announced the live action one.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody was.
Yeah, especially when they announced the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my thing with Cowboy Bebop. I've seen the series once. I saw it probably 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And I think that's about the right. Yeah. That was not my first Shinichiro Watanabe series. I actually saw Samurai Champloo first.
Okay.
And
I know that one.
Samurai Champloo is his second big work. And it is set in Edo, Japan, during the time of the Tokugawa shogunate. And all of its music is anachronistic as well. It is all hip hop.
Oh, okay.
It follows two different ronin and a girl with a troubled past. What are their names? Jin. Fu
Mugen
is the girl.
Yeah.
I'll look this up.
Mugen, Mugen, Mugen.
Mugen. And Mugen and Jin come from very, very different schools of fighting style. Both of them are incredibly dangerous to everyone else that isn't them. Like people happen in the middle of their fights and they just die. And it was great. It was part of the storyline also followed into the Christians hiding out in southern Japan,
right?
Which was weird because I'm like, wait, I know exactly where these stories are taking place. So I had seen that, and then someone introduced me to Cowboy Bebop. They're like, this is the great. They talked about it the same thing that you did, and it has all of those elements. And having read Gibson, it's like this should be great. I should have been in love with Cowboy Bebop, and it never connected with me.
Really?
I don't know why.
Huh.
It's just like I appreciate it for the work that it is, but it didn't leave an indelible mark the same way that Ghost in the Shell or Akira did, or Samurai Champloo.
Yeah. Yeah, Samurai Champloo is what his follow-up to Bebop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could go on and on about Ghost in the Shell too. That was one of those ones that like I would actually bring to like in college and stuff. I'd have like I would be taking like literature courses and like postmodern writing and all that stuff. And everyone's kind of bringing in like again, they're bringing in a lot of Gibson stuff like that. And I would show up with Ghost in the Shell, and I'm like, oh, we're watching this for my selection. You know, that was my other big jam. Yeah, for sure.
Because Ghost in the Shell is just like the concepts of Ghost in the Shell you still think about.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime I think about cyberspace and cybernetics and the evolution of humanity, that's part of that internal conversation.
Yeah.
Bebop was cool, but it didn't strike me as much. And I'm seeing if that changes in this rewatch. So far, I'm like, yeah, okay, nope, all the elements are still there, and I can't.
Oh, I mean, I guess when I say that I love it a lot, I'm not saying that it left like an indelible mark on me. Sometimes I love something just because it's fucking cool.
And I think the first time I watched Cowboy Bebop, I was a little bit too old to be like changed by it, like some other anime that I saw when I was younger. But I think it's a really good piece of work. I really appreciate it, and I've watched it a handful of times, which is not true of most anime.
Yeah. So for me, it's just fun to watch. It's just like you said, it's just fucking cool, and I dig it. And that's kind of all I wanted from the live action too.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I didn't need it to like as weird as it sounds, like I didn't need it to break new ground. I kind of didn't want it to. But then you have to ask the question, like, well, if you don't want it to do anything new, then why are you doing it? Well, why do you do anything, I guess? But, you know, the cynic in me says, well, because they wanted money. But another part of me is like, to see if they could, you know, to see if they, because as a rule, animated live action adaptations don't work very well.
I saw a whole article about how Netflix keeps ruining animes by making live actions that are total flops. See, and I'm like, I don't know that it's strictly Netflix's fault.
I don't think it is. I think that gets back into our unfortunately ongoing conversation of toxic reactionary fandom.
Yeah.
And that's a whole thing. I kind of want to hold on that until the end because I want to, and I mean, like, that's just me. I really want to hear what everyone thought about the new show to whatever extent they can share.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I'll jump in since I've only seen an episode so far, which pretty much covers the very first episode of the original.
Yeah.
And adds in a new introduction for and a little bit of a background for Faye Valentine. Because originally she doesn't get introduced until after they've already introduced Ein.
Yeah.
John Cho is, for me, pitch perfect as Spike Spiegel. Like he's like, yeah, of course. Who else would you have cast? I really like Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black, and I really like Daniela Pineda as Faye Valentine. Like the three of them make a perfect live action on screen versions of those original characters, whose ethnicities are kind of moot by this point, since everyone is from a different planet in the solar system.
Right. Yeah.
And like it's more about what planet you're from, and nobody wants to be from Earth. Even though everyone is clearly originally from Earth. But
yeah. As Ron Perlman said in Alien Resurrections, Earth, what a shithole.
in the original series, when they pick up Ed, like that's Jet's entire assessment. It's like nothing ever good comes from Earth.
Mhm.
Right.
Nothing good ever comes from Earth. Okay. But I really enjoyed the take and how it started. I liked the nod at the very beginning where the casino is Watanabe Casino.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it like if I knew nothing else about Bebop, that would have been the perfect way for me to start. It's like, oh, this is great. Another thing I haven't heard people talk about enough is Yoko Kanno is a genius, is a musical genius to the level that we don't deserve. It is one thing to, yes, bring your music back for a live action version of something of an original animated series. It is another thing to redo the arrangements of those original music pieces so that they fit the action of the live action version.
Yeah, and they do it for every episode also.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, she does it for every one of them.
She works on a completely different level.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Although it took me a little bit to get used to every once in a while because, especially with every episode opening, the credit sequence visually is always the same, but it's a different mix of the opening almost every time.
Interesting.
Is it?
Okay.
To fit the tone of that, what happens right when the titles kick off, because they always kick off at different times of the episodes.
Mm.
You know, it's either a 2-minute teaser or I think one of them goes like 10 minutes before you actually get the before the credits start.
Oh, that's
right.
That's those long cold opens are.
Yeah,
those are.
I think that's a bit more of a modern mechanism. The varying cold opens.
Yeah.
I saw an episode of something once, and the cold open was more than halfway through what was originally a 30-minute episode. It was, and it was part of the episode. Or is it the cold open is the show, and you don't get the theme of the song of the show until more than halfway through the episode.
Right.
And it's the characters doing it. Like they wrapped it into the events of the episode.
Oh, that's
cool.
Weird.
I mean, not to stray at all, but I feel like last week's Discovery was like a 10-minute cold open.
It was.
I
was like, did I miss the credit? Oh no, here we go. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, back to Bebop. I don't know, Bean, do you want to go next with your kind of thoughts on it? I mean, Cable, that was kind of your
want
to step in.
I'm wrapped. Yeah.
Okay, I really enjoyed it. I did. I know that a lot of people have like mixed feelings, and there's a lot of people who are complaining about XYZ. But I think that let me back up. It was not a perfect remake. You know, it was not like it is not infinitely better or anything. It improved on some things. It also left a couple things behind. Like I think that the live action has a lot less melancholy to it. Like there doesn't have the same amount of pathos to it as the animated. And I think part of it is because they didn't have any bottle episodes. There's a couple episodes in the animated that don't necessarily serve the longer running plot, or maybe they just like touch on some of the arcs in the series. But the key events of the episode don't really have much to do with anything. But it'll end up having like this like weird sad vibe by the end of it. The one that comes to mind offhand is the one about the second refrigerator in the stockroom.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about to say that was probably going to be one of the ones that you talked about.
Yeah, and now I'm going to blank on any other examples, but that one for sure is a complete bottle episode. It doesn't connect to anything else in the story through lines, and it just leaves you feeling a little bit sad at the end, which is weird because it's a bad food refrigerator monster.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's super wacky and bizarre, and there is a lot less wacky bizarreness in the live action. What you get instead is a lot of focus on through lines for each character. There's Jet, and like what happened. Everybody, it's like, oh, what happened in your past, and like, why are you here?
Right.
It's like everyone on the Canterbury. Everybody on this crew fucked up at some point or another, and that's why they're on this ship. So it's kind of that vibe, and so the whole focus is learning retroactively what happened with each of those characters. But for Faye Valentine, for example, that actually fleshed out her character a lot more. She got a lot more time than she did in the animated, and in essence gave her even more personality. Besides, especially if you think about how much how much of her character is just TNA.
Yeah.
So it gained a couple elements that I think make it a more robust storytelling experience, but at the same time, like focusing on those things took away some of the other elements that made Cowboy Bebop like such a cult favorite. Because it's not quite as weird and quirky as the original.
For sure, yeah.
I can definitely see that with it lacks melancholy, and I think that's the difference between Japanese directors and American directors is there is a sense of longing that they manage to bring to their art, whether it's film, television, or books. And I include manga in when I say books. That I don't think Americans we don't have we didn't have 2 bombs dropped on us.
I knew you were going there with this.
Yeah, that then changed, but it's something even before that. Like there is something about the Asian experience. It's a reference Wong Kar-wai's "In the Mood for Love." That movie is melancholy incarnate, but definitely it makes the perfect example. It's like, oh, this is a melancholy that Asian directors managed to capture because it's something that they live with all the time, and I don't know why. It's a cultural thing.
Well, part of it also could be because I was studying for something, I don't remember what it was, but it required me to look into like older like Japanese history and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to like other major world powers, the Japanese people like lived under a brutal form of feudalism for a long fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't until like the 1800s where that started to break. Now you could say that like, well, yeah, maybe Europe didn't, but then it became industrialization. Like there was always something to oppress people, but there's a certain type of cultural ennui that comes when you realize that unless you're born into those families, you are worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are fodder for them to do as they please.
Meanwhile,
that shit lingers in your head. You know?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a huge generalization, and I hope not to offend anyone by it. This is just like what I have gleaned from context from media. Asian cultures, Japanese and Chinese cultures in particular, really tend to be a lot more open to pragmatic worldviews and stories in their pop culture, whereas Americans don't want to be sad about anything. They don't want to be made to feel bad by their stories. An example that comes to mind is The Descent, which, Aaron, you taught me the original ending because it's a UK film, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has a very depressing ending. It like they don't make it out alive.
It's such a better ending.
That yet. It's devastating in exactly the way that I love.
It's the realistic ending.
Yes,
It's
and it
the
can be
ending you should have
beautiful.
expected the entire time watching that movie.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful ending. It's just also sad. And instead they just make it I survived the end for the American version that released here. And I'm like, that's fine, but I don't feel anything at the end of that.
No, the slow pull away with her imagining the cake at the birthday, as you hear the cave dwellers just like getting closer and closer, and it gets darker and darker, and it pulls back, and you're like, oh yeah, she's gone. And then I also like the suggestion that even she got out of the fucking cave, she's done. There's no fixing her. She's been broken like too many times. There's no putting her back together.
And I don't want to imply that the live action doesn't have sad stuff in it, because it does, but it just doesn't like hit home the same way.
And I feel that is more of in a broad sense, is a better critique of live action adaptations of original animated movies or series, is that you change the feeling and the mood of it in order to better market it to a larger audience.
Yeah.
So when you water down Cowboy Bebop, it's going to lose some of that. It can still be entertaining for sure, but it may lose that melancholy heart.
Yes.
And that feels like a fair critique than saying, oh, they just ruined it. It's like, did they? Or did they make something different?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think a lot of fans, this happens a lot with books too. These things are adaptations or interpretations of the new screenwriter and directors and performers of a previous thing. So they're never going to be what you 100% want them to be. And audience members really need to let go of that idea that like, oh, I'm just going to see what I read and imagine in my head put up on screen now. Like, well, no, you're not. You're going to see elements of it, but you're not going to see exactly what you see in your own head or however you imagined an anime. It's just
right, especially because,
and you shouldn't.
Whenever a story is originally made by the original creator, they have thoughts, feelings, experiences that influence, that inform the way the story is written and the thoughts and feelings that they are trying to convey. And when you put that finished piece of work into anybody else's hands, whether it's to go ahead and be consumed or to be remade in a different format, someone else's thoughts, feelings, and experiences are going to inform the way it is perceived or the way it is remade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my own thoughts of the show are, they're oddly complicated, but also like simple, if that makes sense. Like everyone involved in it is great. Like the casting is absolutely wonderful. I give massive props to the writers and to Daniela. This is the first time Faye Valentine actually has agency over her own body. She's very much just a sex object in the anime. Like she and is like
largely,
wacky,
yes,
and it borders on misogynistic at times.
I believe I referred to her in. I was talking to a coworker about it as the original Faye Valentine is it's not the femme fatale because they're beautiful, but they're dangerous. Faye is the dangerous ditz.
Yeah.
In that she acts like an idiot, but isn't.
Yeah.
Daniela, her Faye, like she had me sold in her first fight scene.
Right.
Because as soon as she dropped to her knees with that particular knife and was trying to cut Spike at the legs, like, oh, your fight choreographer went, and the writers and her, I assume they all went, no, this is how this woman would fight, especially with that knife.
Because
Like,
she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're going immediately for the femoral artery. You want this fight to be over real fast.
Yeah, you can extrapolate. Being the character knows that she can't be in a stand-up fight with just big burly opponents. Like she can't. One or two hits and she's done. So she has to cut it off quickly, which is cool. And that's the thing. Like visually, I liked it. Some of the times the editing felt a little chunky for me. Like, and again, part of it is that one thing they are trying to capture is the energy of the anime, and you just can't.
No,
you just can't.
I think that they had a couple moments where they actually did it very wonderfully. There is a scene where Spike and Jet are talking over a table and discussing something. I'm going to forget what it is now because I watched it right when it came out and very quickly. So now it's been a couple weeks. They're standing face to face over a table and they're talking about something, and then they both lean in to look at what's on the table, and so you're seeing it from the side, so you see them coming in like this, and it just had this perfect anime vibe.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, as a whole is what I'm talking about. Especially some of the hyperkinetic scenes.
I mean, there's no.
I'm pretty sure only Edgar Wright can edit close to an anime.
I think Guy Ritchie could do it too.
Or yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I liked it's like a cooking analogy. I liked every single ingredient that went into it. But then at the end I was like, oh, and this is what you made? It's good. But you were using the top shelf of everything. And
you got to the end. Sorry.
Huh?
I was going to say you got to the end and went, needed salt.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. It was like, oh man, you bought the best of you bought the choicest cut of steak and the freshest vegetables, and you fucking had the herbs alive and imported, and you hired the best, chefs to make it. It was good. But yeah, but I'm like, yeah. So that's the weird thing. After every episode, I felt myself thinking, okay, is that it? It's good, but and that's the thing. I don't want to sound like I'm negative. I always enjoyed the show, but I never went that was cool. I went, yep, that was Cowboy Bebop. Okay. That's how I felt after every single episode.
I look forward to finishing the series and seeing how what my feelings are at the end of this. Again, it's still, I feel like I'm in a better place to just kind of look at it critically, or not critically, objectively, since I'm not as, I don't have slavish devotion or that much investment in the original.
Right. And I do wonder how much, if I would have enjoyed it more if I only had a passing knowledge of yeah, that was an anime once. And I'll watch it after I watch the live action series. It actually makes me want it jump a little bit. I have zero desire to read the Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan because I look at that and no, I'm not doing it. So that's why I haven't started the series, but I've now been told by a few people, diehards of the books, they're like, yeah, it's okay. People who know nothing about the books are like, this is fucking cool. So I'm like, all right, okay.
I have coworkers who have read every book, and I have coworkers who have read none of them, and they've been watching it, and they all talk about how much they love what they're doing. So they're all on board with it.
And I have neither watched that show or read those books. But what I will say is I I watched the live action and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I didn't have critiques of it until I got a fresh rewatch of the animated. And I am sort of tempted to go back and rewatch the live action now to like go back and check my notes, essentially.
You should skew those viewer numbers for Netflix, so they're like, wait, why is this going up now?
But I don't think that even if now that I do have, you know, some general critiques about the live action, I don't think that watching it again is going to make me like it any less. What I think will happen is I'll just have like more refined ways of explaining, like, okay, so you compromise by doing more of this, but now giving less of that. I still think that they put out a quality show. And that's not even like accounting for my like, you know, deep abiding love for John Cho and anything that he's in.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
In fact, maybe I'll just go watch Selfie again. Another show that like really did not get a chance.
I think we ought to do an in-depth look into Selfie at some point in 2022.
It was pretty good, yeah.
Because I never watched it, and I should have.
Selfie is definitely shorter than Avatar if you wanted to do that first.
No, we've talked way too much about Avatar. We can fit Selfie in sometime in between there, but we definitely need to start putting together we're going to watch these episodes, and then we're going to talk about these episodes, and then watch these, because that's a lot. Are we going to, after we do the original, are we going to take like a month for palate cleansing and then jump right into Korra?
Ooh, I don't.
Who's to say?
Okay.
Aaron's not in for any of this.
No, it's fine. I'm just thinking of my schedule of how to work stuff in.
I'm not saying that we're going to do like Avatar all at once. It's like, oh no, let's watch 2 episodes and then talk about it. And then 2 weeks later, watch another 2 episodes.
All right, that's better.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, I can't watch that much.
No, there's way too much media.
Yeah.
Like, we're still going to be talking about Star Trek until May, June.
Yeah, because is it Picard that rolls in next?
I think we get the buffer of the second half of
Prodigy,
and then Picard, and then Strange New Worlds.
Right. And
then we get the summer off, and then next fall should be Lower Decks all over again.
Right.
Oh,
and that Section 31 show that is totally going to happen.
Is there controversy?
It's not on, and Michelle Yeoh is doing lots of other work apparently.
Yeah, that's the big joke. Is that like, yes, your main character, you have to get that you have to get Michelle to slow down to do it.
I don't think she's going to.
You know who else isn't slowing down right now?
Who, Aaron?
Our friends at Asylum at 3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, right across the Baghdad Theater, with their new holiday hours. Yeah, basically it's Tuesday through Sunday. They're closed on Mondays. Daily at noon or earlier, and are open till 4, likely later.
Wait, I'm sorry. I thought they were closed last Monday and this Monday, i.e. yesterday, but
correct.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So then not Mondays, but all of the Mondays that have already passed.
Yes.
So moving forward, you can totally go there on a Monday.
Yes.
If you so wish.
And you could totally get, I'm looking at you, Cable, that minifig puzzle they just posted 7 hours ago.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot of minifig faces.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty sweet. Actually, both of those puzzles look pretty cool. If
you the rainbow one, that one's really good.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm really into these mugs that they have. Every mug has a little special something happening at the bottom of the inside of your mug.
I like the moon landing one.
Like that's a little trilobite.
Yeah.
Yeah, moon landing with a footprint. I think it's cats. Is it cats and dogs? No, just cats. Cats with a cat print. And the trilobite is as like a geology one with like the layers of the earth, which is always fun.
Geological time. I always like that phrase.
Mm.
Ooh. I don't really
that
drink sake because it always gives me a headache. But that stoneware sake set is really sexy.
Yeah, I was eyeballing the sushi set for 2.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I missed the sushi set. I was too busy looking at the
It's right there.
the cabinets. There's like a sideboard looking piece that's drawers and a door. I did find them. They're lovely. I can
Oh my
see
God.
that. I like
You mean
those for
that
you,
thing.
Cable.
Also, scroll down. There are greeting cards based on modern versions of tarot.
Uh-oh.
The X, that extra, or 10, that extra friend. The selfie whore.
The Instagram cliche.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
There's like a married couple, and it just says the end. Womp womp.
Wah, wah. So they got a lot of cool stuff in right now. Definitely check them out.
Like,
they've got a record rack, y'all.
We're now down to less than 2 weeks until Christmas. And if you have not figured out your gifting for people, or screw it, you've bought all your gifts for everyone else.
That deserves a reward.
Treat yourself before Christmas.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
At Asylum.
3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, across from the historic Baghdad Theater, where I believe they are still showing Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is very charming.
Oh, I still haven't seen that.
And don't forget to follow them on Facebook.com/PDX Asylum.
Or like I do, follow them at PDX_Asylum on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, too.
Yeah, because I don't...
I know.
I know Instagram is owned by Facebook. It's still...
Yes.
It's still different. It is
when
different.
we finally break up all of these businesses, maybe Instagram will go back to not sucking so much.
Yeah.
Man.
But Asylum doesn't suck, so go to them.
No, it doesn't. God damn, I want these teak stools.
I mean...
The puzzle stools? These are
makes
neat.
everything.
Cutie!
Yeah.
Teak makes everything better. Everything should be made out of teak.
I think you just like saying teak.
I do. I do find the word teak appealing. So yeah, let's get back to it, Space Cowboy. Bex, you're banned.
What? Why? What did Bex do?
It's all meta. Sorry, I've given her shit. She's not banned.
I might ban her. Okay.
Puny banner.
Holy hog.
Okay, so before we move into the toxic fandom conversation, any final thoughts or Cable, maybe like your hopes and dreams?
I don't know that I have a lot of hopes and dreams for the live action series. I just I think I'm just going to enjoy the rest of it. I think I was talking to a coworker who's really into the original series and was somewhat disappointed with the live action, but not like she enjoyed it. But she's like, they got some things wrong. She didn't like the way they depicted Vicious at all. She's like, he seemed very whiny, and that's not Vicious. Vicious is vicious. That's the whole, like, he's
Vicious
named.
Vicious always remind me of Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII.
Which came first?
Oh,
Sephiroth,
yeah. Because Cowboy Bebop was 98, so yeah.
So because
Vicious
that
is
means
the whole thing.
Sephiroth also begat, what's his name? Soren Markov from Innistrad.
Right.
White-haired vampire. Very moody, very emo. No, I think I agree with her point, which was by canceling it and not giving it a second season to try and make those fans happy, this just goes, well, now we failed at this thing and this failed thing exists. It's Like,
But
that's
I don't.
dumb.
But I mean, like, under what metric is it a failed show that needed to be canceled?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Netflix is notorious for not releasing any kind of numbers at all unless they want to use them bragging rights.
Mhm.
Like their Red Notice movie has like insane watch numbers, like through the roof.
Is that another one of those Ryan Reynolds straight to Netflix movies?
Mhm. Ryan
Yeah,
Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot.
yeah, it's like all three of them producing it also.
Yeah,
And it's all of them playing themselves. Like literally, they are playing themselves.
I'm skipping that one.
It's like the way you're describing it sounds appealing, but I know that it is not the kind of movie I care about. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. I feel like one of the things that hurt Cowboy Bebop, and again, I have no inside knowledge. I just kind of have a slight sampling of how like productions work.
Mm-hmm.
I think John getting hurt during like week 1 of filming really fucked up the entire series, because even though they put production on hold, like they're still spending money. They have to keep certain people on, like, just so they don't take other jobs. So I got a feeling that show, when it went back to filming, was already over budget. Like it had to do crazy numbers to justify a season 2 in terms of like Netflix accounting. And then it's also one of those things that, like, the reason why Netflix will keep certain shows on longer, because they have this word algorithm, they don't like things go past 3 seasons, because that is generally when your actors get to negotiate new contracts. Unless you're like Stranger Things, which can then sell lunchboxes and merchandise and T-shirts, and
Cowboy Bebop can hella sell some merch,
but not with the nostalgia bomb that Stranger Things created. Stranger Things just opened up the vein of Gen Xers and Zennials or whatever and said, "Here you go. Ugh. Everything you look back on with rose-colored glasses, we're putting it in the show. Now go buy merch." So I think that's part of it, is that the same thing I think with like Why the Last Man. That show was over budget from frame 1. Like it was like,
that's such a dumb reason to cancel a show. Like it's not the fault of the story or the actors. I'm like, well, you're never gonna make your money back if you stop having the thing.
Remember when Peter Jackson had to fight MGM because MGM said the Lord of the Rings didn't make any money? Or how like Star Trek the Motion Picture, technically before filming a single frame of the movie, was $10 million over budget, because they took all the money that Paramount spent in trying to get Phase 2 off in the ground and launching a Paramount network in like 1977. When that fell flat, they just rolled all of those costs into the motion picture and then said, "Oh, you're over budget."
That's stupid and infuriating.
Yes, it is.
It's Hollywood accounting. And we've talked about this on the show before. Like, we don't fully understand it, but I don't think any CPA, any rational CPA, does either, because it's bullshit. It is bullshit accounting designed to use as leverage against people who make art.
Yeah.
By people who don't understand what art is, even when you explain it to them with pictures and crayons.
And not even to hurt people that make, well, I guess everyone involved in production is making art, but I mean, this impacts, like the strike that almost happened with all the production workers. Hollywood accounting uses that against, like, look, we can't pay you more because, look, we're not making any money off the last Spider-Man movie. Like, okay.
Yeah, sure. I think Hollywood accounting is something that most corporations aspire to. It's like, how exactly do you get out of paying anyone anything, even though that you made $3 billion in a weekend?
Right.
It's like, oh, because on paper we made $16.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. So I don't know how much toxic fandom affected Bebop.
I know it was there. I remember hearing something stupid around the casting of John Cho, where it's like, yeah, he's too old to play Spike Spiegel. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, yeah, Spike Spiegel's supposed to be this young guy, and he does this. I'm like, Spike Spiegel, with the backstory that he has, cannot be any younger than 40.
I mean, he is meant to be younger. I think he's meant to be in his late 20s, early 30s. But
Which
like
is dumb.
But like Indiana Jones said, it ain't the age, honey, it's the miles. And Spike Spiegel has he's been on some hard road.
Sure.
And John Cho makes him look perfect for someone that has lived that life. You know.
I think we talked about this already, but how old even is John Cho?
John Cho turns 50 next year.
Yeah.
Looks amazing.
Because he was born in 1972. I looked it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a year younger than me. It's like, yeah, nope. Asian don't Asian.
Which means he will still be the perfect age if I ever, in my wildest nerd dreams, get to do my A-Team reboot. He's my Hannibal. Yeah. Let's not go down that road. It's a real nerdy road. And that's coming from me saying it's too nerdy for this show.
That can be one of those weeks where Bean's on assignment on an away mission.
Man, Stephanie Beatrice is Murdoch, the version of Murdoch. Yeah. Yeah, I can't go on. It's too much. I have a whole breakdown about how they were. Yeah, I have a whole breakdown. Same plot. Framed for a crime they didn't commit in Afghanistan. I mean, it's all. I just modernize all of it.
We've talked about it
Righteous.
before because we had an episode where we talked about what franchise.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then go watch that. Go listen to that episode again.
But not right now. You're listening to this episode.
No. Yeah.
When you're done with this episode, go.
Yes.
Issue. We call them issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what else we can dive into on this.
I don't know either. I still come down to one of the frustrations that I have with it being canceled is this is a show that has a Korean American, an African American, and a Mexican American as their leads. And Netflix went, yeah, sure, cancel it.
I mean, sure, but I think this is one of those times I think it's just... I think if it had 3 white leads, it still would have gotten canceled.
I don't believe that. I do not believe that for a second.
I don't think it would have made it either.
I think that if they had the same money troubles, someone would have found a way to make it work for at least one more season. And I say this... I don't
know, man. Netflix is fucking ruthless.
But they usually wait at least 3 seasons.
We got more than 1 season of Dollhouse.
Well, that's Fox. That's not Netflix. Netflix is a whole different beast.
Dollhouse is terrible.
I still don't... But the thing is even if it was, there are other shows on Netflix that have been that, and they have longer seasons. What's that one with... It's called The Farm or The Ranch or something, with the alumni from that 70s show.
Yeah, that's also dirt cheap to make. It's a single camera, 1 set.
With someone with a history of sexual assault as one of the main leads.
They did boot him the moment that came out. They did boot him. They did.
But why
I'm usually always one to be like race is a big issue. I don't know if that was a deciding factor in Cowboy Bebop. I don't
think it's a deciding factor, but I do think that is still plays into, we're that was used against them, as opposed to if it had been 3 white leads, it would have gone, we just went over budget.
Well, and also if it had been 3 white leads, it wouldn't have been Cowboy Bebop. No company is dumb enough this day and era to cast 3 white people in Cowboy Bebop. What is it? Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. Bring back season 2, but just put her as every character.
I still enjoy the meme of saying how the so far the 3 big releases from Marvel have all starred Asian Americans. You know, Simu, Gemma, and Scarlet.
It's awesome.
Sorry, Simu's a Asian Canadian.
Mm.
Yeah. It's awesome. Although speaking of really back to John Cho, if you guys have never seen his run, I think he's in season 2 of The Exorcist. Oh, so good.
The Exorcist Show?
Yeah, so Fox back
Yeah, I don't
in...
know anything about this either, Bean.
Oh my God. It came... I didn't expect to like it this much. So season 1 was 2016. So maybe most people were focused on other things at the time. It's basically... It picks up however many years it has been since the first Exorcist movie. It picks up like that many years afterwards. And it's clearly it's a new priest and it's a demonic case, but it's a much more slow burn. It stars Gina Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And spoilers, I don't care. It's been revealed before. She plays Reagan, who has changed her name because she can't have a normal life when people find out she's the little girl Reagan who was possessed by the devil. That's not even like the biggest fucking twist in season 1. It's a legit disturbing and really good show. It's
Alan Ruck
fun.
is in it.
Yeah. Yeah, he is her husband.
As is Ben Daniels, who I enjoyed a lot from Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh, and you'll dig him because he's playing that great like cliche of the semi-fallen priest who now like drinks hard because he saw something horrible in his past and he can no longer unsee it. But he's also the only one who's really good at being an exorcist. It's solid. It's really good. It's super good.
Oh,
no one is talking about this show.
It was a show that like they didn't push very hard, but like horror fans like went bonkers for it.
And it only had 2 seasons?
Yeah, John Cho's only in season 2. He is a different character.
And it's only 20 episodes. It's a short season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you guys will dig it. It's fun. Anyway, there's my other side strap there.
Back to toxic fandom. I also did not see any of the negative feedback, whether it was valid or otherwise, about Bebop. I did see people talking shit about shit talkers. I guess I'm in a very like secluded, safe space on the internet where like these things aren't coming to me.
Well, I think that's because as people who do a podcast, we kind of have to be very selective about where we dip our toe in the internet.
Yeah, and I intentionally avoid certain areas of the internet because I have been pushed up against it every once in a while, and it's not a pretty place to be. For sure.
Well, I guess it hasn't made its way to, and at this point, maybe it won't, made its way to, I don't know, headlines.
Yeah.
And it probably won't.
Yeah. I mean, now that it's been canceled, I would assume that anyone who wants to try to pan it is like mission accomplished, moving on to the next stupid thing.
Yeah, they're currently trying to review bomb, what's its name? Spider-Man.
Oh, that's not going to work at all.
No.
No, it's not.
They're going to attempt it. Like,
sure, go for it.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it worked on the Eternals. It's like, no, it still didn't.
Yeah, no, it did just fine.
I don't know how to tell you this, but you're not bigger than Marvel, and you're certainly not bigger than Disney.
Yeah.
That's
Disney
a different problem
Sony
altogether.
Also, I know that, and Netflix doesn't really pay attention to that because I think Cable and I are going to talk about this next week. When part 1 of Master of the Universe Revelations came out, all Kevin Smith saw were like all the review bombing and all like the negative stuff that gets the headlines. So he was really nervous that like Netflix wasn't going to air the back half.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm in conversations with him a couple days later, and I'm like, have you guys seen the reviews? And Netflix is like, we could give a shit. We don't care. Like, we know those reviews are coming from. She's like, and they're also like, and the numbers do not bear any kind of similarity to the reviews. They're like, relax. We're very happy.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about that next week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to watching the back half.
I didn't think Evil Lynn could make me feel more tingly than she already does. Yep.
Blanking on the name of the actress.
Cersei. Mama.
Oh my god. Stop saying names.
Sarah Connor.
That is what I blame Dollhouse on. Canceling the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
That is the problem of that.
Oh my god, I can Lena Headey.
There, Lena. Every time I hear her name, I think of Blazing Saddles, and I hear it's Headley.
It's not Headley.
I know, but
it's Headey. Lena Headey is still. Oh man, we don't deserve her either. She's
pretty great.
So good at her job.
Yeah.
Which is funny when you, much like Stephanie Beatrice, you see her do an interview. It's like, oh my God, you really are acting when you're Rosa Diaz, because you're nothing like Rosa Diaz.
No, not at all. I actually got weirded out the first time I heard Stephanie Beatrice's real voice. I was like, what the?
I saw her doing an interview, like a promotional type thing for Encanto, and look at the white way I said that.
I know. I was like, what is Encanto?
I said it white. And I already knew that she sounds totally different from her Rosa character, but it's
like
still
like Valley Girl.
Threw me the fuck off. Yes.
She has a Valley Girl accent. I was like, what the?
And she's just like bubbly and smiley, and it's disgusting, but I love her.
And she wears colors and pastels.
Yeah,
I know.
It's insane. Yeah.
And she isn't constantly scowling.
Yeah. Lena Headey is all of that in comparison to every role that she's ever played.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered by that though, because there's nothing for me to identify with that woman.
Oh, because does that mean there's something about you that maybe you're like, maybe I could be bubbly and I don't like it?
No. What I mean is like, Lena Headey is like in her 50s and white and British. There's like nothing for me to like
any of those things.
Yeah, there's nothing aspirational there for me, or nothing relatable in those things for me.
That makes sense.
And also, she's much more villainous, in many of her roles. Whereas Stephanie Beatriz is probably 30-something, maybe early 40s. I don't know. No, I doubt it. If anything, she's younger.
Yeah, I think so.
And she's Latina, and probably. I think she's an American actress, right? So she's
like 40.
She's like Mexican American.
She's from Argentina.
Okay, so she's Latin American. No, she's she's Argentinian.
Yep.
But anyway, like that is a human being who is more relatable to me, and like the character that she is best known for, Rosa, is a good guy, right? So objectively aspirational, but in a personality that I'm like, yeah, that's the way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how to be.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I get
makes
that.
Sense. Norm.
Nailed it, Norm.
I Said It White is the name of my all recorder Weezer cover band. Norm, we were just talking about how specialty band names is your superpower. Yeah. So,
and also don't say that out loud too much, because I could actually see Weezer putting out a cover of all their songs, but only using recorders.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I really wish I had a recorder right now to like just do a quick Weezer riff.
Yeah, that's all right.
Man. That
We'll
moment
survive.
will never come back.
It won't. It's lost forever to the.
It is.
To the
It is. It's
ether.
lost forever. It was a very finite window of opportunity on that.
Yep, and it's gone. Well, I think this is a good place to kind of say goodnight to everybody. Yeah,
I think
feel
so.
Good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Suppose so.
Yeah.
So that's it for me for the year.
Yep.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap on Bean.
Yep, that's right.
What are you guys gonna do? What are you guys gonna do? Yeah, yay me!
I think the two things we talked about is we're surely gonna chat about Masters of the Universe, and I think Cable and I are gonna not do like a deep review, but I think we're gonna talk about Coyote and Crow because if you back the Kickstarter, the PDF is yours now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, what a bummer.
I'm going to spend the next few days reading through that back matter.
Yeah, me too.
Like I've already looked through the PDF. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
it does
I'm
look amazing.
sorry to be missing those conversations. I'm sure they'll both be interesting. But I'm also not prepared to talk about either of them right now. So
There'll be something.
Right.
It works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure by year end we'll be able to talk about how Hawkeye wrapped up.
Yeah, we will get to do a full Hawkeye recap.
I
chat about Hawkeye.
I do have to give shout out to whoever's did the programming for that by starting out. It's like, no, we'll give you 2 episodes the week of Thanksgiving. It's like, well, of course you will, because that means it times perfectly to end on the Christmas episode 2 days before Christmas.
Right. Yep.
It's I love it when they do things like that. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love well-timed programming.
Yeah, and I'm definitely enjoying the writing on this one. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
And just as you recover from Christmas coma is when the book of Boba Fett drops, because that's the 28th, I think.
Oh man!
I think that's the day that I'm actually coming back into town. So like,
oh good.
Yeah.
Oh, and now I have to go. Now I have a job first thing in the morning, so I can't even stay up late to watch it.
Boo!
Boo!
I mean, no, that's probably good.
I mean, you could.
You could. You also. I'm not going to say when. It's not like you start at like 7 a.m. for this job.
No, but I gotta get up by a certain time. It's a bit of a longer commute for me, and
yeah, I know.
I after like almost 2 years of either unemployment or underemployment, I'm still like training my brain to be up and like physically active by a certain time every day, and it's been a struggle, y'all. And I'm not going to get home until midnight on the 28th, which is why I can't be on the show.
It's also working full-time or even part-time during year 2 of a pandemic is different than working pre-pandemic. It just is. And I'm sorry to both of you for having to encounter this. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You both know and remember how grumpy I was for months, and I couldn't really explain why, except it was everything.
Right.
All the time.
And see, like, I don't feel like I need apologizing to, because I got to avoid a lot of that. We have essentially arrived at the new norm when it comes to having to navigate a workspace while still in a pandemic. So like a lot of the kinks have been sort of worked out, and like, you know, I've been pretty lucky that for the most part, the intermittent work that I've had in the past 2 years has been pretty accommodating about the fact that, you know, being around people could kill you. So
stay home.
We'll take it easy on these things.
Yeah.
You know? We'll work around stuff.
Yeah, and I've been lucky. The job I'm doing with Nat is pretty much, he's like, look, don't break yourself doing this.
Nat is an excellent employer.
Yeah. The only tricky part is, and this is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show, is by nature of a lot of the places I have to go that serve that beverage, I'm having to work around a lot of like the houseless issues in Portland. Especially like an old town where they can get cable, as you know, like a little aggro. I'm like I can't help you, man. I don't have anything. I, I'd give you a 4-pack of the cider, but I don't feel that ethically that's the smartest gift I could give you.
I have
You
had
know.
to deal with this recently at Guardian, and I've had I'm in the midst of drafting a very formal response to a complaint. But I
Wow.
personally have to say this: if you have a problem with people being houseless in Portland, go storm City Hall.
Yeah.
There is nothing that a single.
Y'all could have signed that recall thing, and I don't know most of you didn't.
Yep. I don't think that would be the end of it either.
Nah,
Like,
they wouldn't.
Take back your city government. That's how this is going to get fixed.
Yeah.
Businesses can't do it on their own. The police are not coming. Also, fuck the police.
It would also be nice if people were more willing to individually do more for their, community.
True.
Yeah.
And mutual aid is a thing that should be happening. But when the funds are there and being allocated poorly,
Like
be
to
generous.
protect downtown businesses and run off the homeless people without helping them? You mean like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And also, speaking of like downtown businesses being hurt, so this job has got me downtown way more than I've been in a long time, like
Mhm.
driving around downtown. You know what also is really hurting downtown right now? That like a bazillion high-rise apartments and hotels that no one's going to be able to fucking afford are being built, and they're literally boarding up open businesses and shutting down streets and removing what little parking was left in downtown. And it's not the houseless that's stopping people from shopping downtown. And it's not
nor was it the protests.
wasn't the
No.
protests either. It's literally like these like billionaire real estate moguls. Yeah. There's all these like high tower apartments that no one can afford are going in.
I don't understand why they're building more if they can't even sell the ones they got.
I don't know, but like I had to it sounds like such a stupid problem to have, but like normally I would just park in one spot, and if I was just going to businesses, I would just do that. Like I'd walk, but I'm also lugging heavy liquids in cans, and there's only so much I can carry for one stop kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself having to park like 5 blocks away from like a bar and not because like it was that time of day in the park, there was literally nowhere. Or
Mhm.
having to go 3 extra blocks because there are so many detours to build buildings that no one can afford.
Or parking places that would have been easy to have before are now, like 3 of them have been taken up by outdoor seating
Right.
because we insist on keeping businesses open. Yeah.
That being said, I hope we adapt to outdoor seating because I like that.
Not downtown though. I love an outdoor seating arrangement, but not downtown. That's not where you do that because space is at such a premium.
Who says?
Well, you got people trying to park. You got people trying to walk on the street. If you take up the sidewalk, that's a hindrance to disabled folks. And if you're blocking up the sidewalks, it's going to deter people from walking more, it's going to make people walk less, drive more.
I'm a big fan of multi-level parking garages.
Mm-hmm.
There are way too many blacktop parking lots in downtown Portland that should have been converted to multi-level parking structures.
Absolutely.
Short-term profit has stopped any development of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, because you can't rent spaces if you're building on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those spaces should have been bought by the city of Portland. They should have been turned into smart parks. That would have been revenue for the city that they could, then use to house the homeless.
Gee, that seems so
and
awful.
Then you could have outdoor seating in what used to be a parking space all the goddamn time.
Yeah. Anyway.
On that negative note.
Thanks for listening.
Join us next week for other city planning.
And Masters
Heck
of the
yeah.
Universe.
Geek in the City Radio. Tune in next week for Masters of the Universe and Sim City.
Mm-hmm.